Alright guys, as yesterday was the last day given by the Niger military to return the power to the democracy by the ECOWAS, Omo Rufai don't come out to give enough water to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who wants to engage Nigerians to war against Niger. Omo, make una watch the video and hear it from the horse's mouth, guys.
Yesterday was the expiration of the 7-day ultimatum given by ECOWAS to the Niger military junta. Rufai, your take on this report and story.
So I'd like to start by quoting the song from Fela, which is Beast of No Nation. And he used the words advisedly. He says, these disguising leaders, now what for them? They're whole meeting everywhere. There is America. They call them United Nations. So Fela presses further to say, waiting united inside United Nations. No be dear Thatcher and Argentina day during the Falkland War. So I would like to ask, waiting be the unity inside ECOWAS? No be dear Mali and Burkina day. Truth is, we deceive ourselves so much in Nigeria. It has not shown all of us that ECOWAS is split down the middle. Some other countries under military junta, under ECOWAS, are saying, we are not going to support this. Some other countries are advisedly and cautiously watching. If we go ahead, it will be the burden for Nigeria to bear alone. And that's why we must be cautious. And that's why I'm happy the Senate has also spoken as regards this. Secondly, wars cost money. We have an economic imbalance in our country as we speak. Thirdly, there are cultural ties between the northern part of Nigeria and Niger. We all know how we wanted to build a rail line into Maradi. So maybe if the rail line had been built into Maradi, would we have shut down the rail line or bombed the rail line now? Because we're having a war with Niger, or we want to go into a war with Niger, or want to have military action with Niger? These are some posers. Honestly, I feel the initial decision by ECOWAS to even suggest a military action was too hasty. And I think it has also hardened the school plotters or the scoopists in Niger. We could have exhausted every means possible before we looked at any last means possible. And even at that, a military action would not have been the best order of the day. Because like Mr. Fallon argues, you still even need to involve the United Nations, Article 53. So what? You can't just invade a sovereign nation. Secondly, what were we thinking about? Jean Afrique released a report recently about the state of health and the state and the conditions of President Bazoum. When he was first captured, he was kept under a basement. Afterwards, he was brought out, his phone confiscated. He hardly gets meals to eat. In a case where you invade, are we not putting President Bazoum's life in jeopardy? Apart from the cultural ties and all of that. Now we are seeing the true nature of things. And now some countries in ECOWAS are pretty much going to say, oh, it's Nigeria, you are the largest party here, go ahead and fight. And for also those that make the argument that, can't we go in and the UN will help, and the US will help us? I say, help what? When the US said they were going to back us up on the days of ECOMOG, did they back us up? I'm sure some other people will say the case is different. But we should be cautious because we will just get into a place where we'll be fighting a lot of proxy wars. At first, don't forget, you have Chinese interests there. In all of this, China has not said anything. Hope we all know that China owns the Suez refinery in Niger. That supplies the States. We have French and uranium interests there. Then we have American interests there. America has got a very big base there in the desert in Niger. So do we want to get ourselves involved in all this proxy war? If all these superpowers cannot agree amongst themselves, is it us with our own challenges that want to pull ourselves in? I think the Senate has led the way. And all the Senate has said, if I'm to summarize, and kudos to the Senate. When the Senate does well, I praise them. Kudos to the Nigerian Senate. All the Senate has said is that we should be circumspect in our actions before we take them.
Okay, what are the facts of the case? The ECOWAS Council of Heads of State and governments imposed sanctions on Niger, demanding that Mohamed Bazoum, president of Niger, held in captivity, should be released, and that failing this, all of those sanctions that they outlined will apply, including blockade of Niger, including closure of borders against Niger, and all of those. And that if by yesterday, Niger did not agree, ECOWAS will consider the option of military intervention. The latest development is that, number one, the president of Nigeria has now gone, as I assume other presidents who were at that meeting, because that meeting was boycotted, where that decision was taken, was boycotted by a number of West African countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Conakry, and also Niger. And their position was that they were supporting Niger and that they did not think that ECOWAS is in a position to urge military intervention. But the president of Nigeria, even as chairman of the ECOWAS Heads of State, cannot go to war without seeking the approval of the National Assembly. Section 5 sub 4, municipal law, applies in this regard. Section 5 sub 4 says that for you to commit Nigeria to a war activity, you have to seek the approval of the National Assembly at a joint sitting. However, Section 5 sub 5 of the same Constitution, dealing with executive powers, then says that, well, without prejudice to what is stated in Section 5 sub 4, the president can go to war if he has the endorsement of the National Defense Council. The National Defense Council can give approval for a limited combat, but the president has to come back to the Senate within 7 days, and the Senate, the National Assembly, must approve within 14 days. If he does not approve, the president cannot take Nigeria to war. So those are the constitutional provisions. But what has happened now is that, one, we don't have a National Defense Council so properly constituted. There's no Minister of Defense who is a critical member of that body. And in any case, all the service chiefs are there, or any other person appointed by the president. What that will mean in the circumstance will be a unilateral decision on the part of President Tinubu taking Nigeria to war. The other relevant issue is Article 53 sub 1 of the United Nations Charter, which Femi Falana, SAN, has referred to. Well, before Femi Falana, SAN, Professor Akinyemi, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, mentioned that same section of the UN Charter, on military intervention on this program. And the whole rub of it is that if you go to war, you go at your own risk, because the UN will not